Let me tell you why I love Anchor. Like, seriously, everybody knows, that who listens to my podcast, that I'm a newbie. And I haven't had my podcast that long. But the reason why I love Anchor is because one, it's so easy. It's free and everybody love free. There's creation tools that you can record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. I'm always on my phone. Even if I'm on the go, I can record my podcast. I can edit my podcast. They distribute to all the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Like, they do all of that for you within the app. You can make money from your podcast, no minimum listenership. Everything you need to know to make a podcast is in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's so easy. Like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. If you're passionate about something, make a podcast. It's so easy. And you can talk all day about whatever it is that you're passionate about. So go ahead and go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey, welcome to That Shit Was Poetic, where we touch on all things poetic, like music, poetry, art, movies, quotes, and famous poets. I'm your host, Nikki. So welcome, guys. Welcome to That Shit Was Poetic. I'm so happy to have you joining me and listening in on this Friday. I hope you all had a great week. I had a great week as well. And I'm really excited because I feel um, like my podcast is, getting out there to more people. And I'm really happy about that because the reason I made this podcast is because I wanted to share it with other people who had a love for poetry like myself. I started writing as a kid, and it was always something that, stuck with me. And no matter what the ins and outs of my life, it always was something that came back. It's like a friend that never leaves you. So I I want to say I'm really happy that people are listening to my podcast and sharing my podcast, and I'm really happy about the people who've reached out to me to, be a part of my podcast. So I really am happy about that, and I'm so blessed that that's happening. So again, I wanna say thank you to those of you who have been a part of my podcast thus far, and I want to thank you to my listeners. Thank you for supporting me, and thank you for your continuous efforts to listen to me every Friday. To That Shit Was Poetic. So continue to share with your friends, guys. And I have a special guest calling in, and her name is Toya. So look forward to her reading her poetry and also us diving into a little bit of convo. So I'm very excited about that. So stay tuned.
Okay.
So hey guys, let's get into it. Today I have a special guest, and we have Toya on the line, and today she's going to be answering a few questions as well as speaking some of her poetry. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So hi Toya, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining. That shit was poetic. I really appreciate you, with this stressful time that we have and your busy workload. So I really appreciate you giving us time and blessing us.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me.
So give us a little background on who Toya is.
Uh, so first I'll start with I'm an immigrant from the beautiful tropical country Jamaica.
Oh
Migrated
wow,
to
nice.
Yes, I'm an island girl. So all this cold weather, I'm just like so over it. It just needs
I
to
know.
go. Yes, I migrated to the US in 2001. Um where I pretty much started my life. I I went to college, so I wanted to become an attorney because of
Wow.
experiences working with the system and just thinking that, I could do and create that change I want. So when I got to the US, I started on that journey of like, yeah, I'm going to become an attorney. So I did my
Mhm.
undergrad as an English major, and with all hopes of, I'm going to get into law school. So
Right.
fortunately, I did not prepare myself well for the LSATs, and
Mhm.
I flunked it miserably.
Mhm.
So I guess it was also my ego because I'm like, I should have gotten this. So
Mhm.
that's how I decided to become a social worker. So
Okay.
I was like, I still get to have the best of both worlds. I'm actually a social worker in child welfare for the past 10 years. Because I think with just my life experience as we go throughout this interview, I guess you will all get a better sense of who I am
Mhm.
and what led me to where I am, because I also believe in journeying. And I think that God, He does everything intentionally. Sometimes
Absolutely.
we never understand it, but I have come to recognize that my God, He is such a mysterious and mischievous God. And I just have to like just go with the process and not try to push when like to create tension or create friction, just to
Right.
move and allow it to flow. So yes, like I said, a social worker, and I love the work I do because it's a chance for me to give back. It's
Right.
also a chance for me to help change the narrative of individuals and also to become the voice of the voiceless. That's like very, very important to me. A little backtrack. So I the second child of four children
Mhm.
has. So I have a younger brother, and then I have two sisters. I currently I enjoy dancing. I enjoy reading, writing. I love nature walks. I just think that whatever it is that I want to do, I can do it pretty free
Absolutely.
spirited, because I think that we underestimate who we are. And also I think because of how we're informed by our norms and how we were raised within that family dynamics. So I have come to realize, because of my own self-confidence and like really spending time with self and understanding who I am, has just changed the whole trajectory of my life. And for that I am super super thankful. I'm very very vocal. I
Okay.
think that is super important for me to ask questions, because that's the only way I'm going to understand. And I
And it's
know,
good because,
yeah,
not to cut you off,
that's
it's
okay.
good because, like you said, you are the voice
Yeah,
for the children.
yeah,
So being vocal goes hand in hand. So,
absolutely.
you're a blessing for that. I want to commend you on that.
Yes. So that's very, very important for me. And with that, so I also volunteer at the Manhattan Detention Center here
Okay.
in the jail system. Predominantly, I facilitate a life skills class for inmates. And that means so much for me. Again, it goes back to that my my super desire to be the voice of the voiceless.
Right.
Because a lot of times we find people in situations, and because of stigma and what society dictate that how we should be, I'm really helping to change that and to like really look at how trauma is really impacting the way we behave. Because if trauma is left undressed, it manifests in so many different ways, and
Mhm.
we don't even realize that. So it's just like really helping people to come to terms and understanding self and seeing how important that is. So that means so much to me. So that, goes hand in hand with me being a social worker. I am also a daughter, as like I said before, a sister and a caretaker
Right.
for my dad. Um, and I just believe in just like doing whatever I want to do because I can. And I have,
Well, it sounds like you're on the right path
yeah,
to greatness.
absolutely. Probably not on the right path to greatness. I'm already great. I'm just going to
Right.
be
Absolutely.
extraordinary. Right.
Extraordinary. I love that.
Extraordinary. Yes.
I love that.
Extraordinary. Yes. Yes.
So let me ask you, when did you fall in love with poetry?
Ever since I was a teenager. Ever since I was a teenager.
Nice, nice. And did you start writing as a teenager?
Yes. I
Okay.
started writing as a teenager because writing is my safe space. And writing allows me to capture pivotal moments of my life. So I've always resorted to writing ever since I was a teenager. I just didn't know that it would have led me to this journey at this point
Mm-hmm.
in time. But writing was always my safe space. It was my go-to.
Okay. And how would you describe your writing?
So I'm like really, I'm an emotive writer. I write off of my emotions. I am also very creative, and I have like a wild, vivid imagination, if you want to put it that way. I pretty much just like, something will happen and it just triggers me, and then I'll just write.
Okay, so I guess that's where you pull your inspiration from,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. My inspiration comes from my pain and my lived experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I've been asking my other guests that came onto the show this question, and I want to ask you today if you can write any poem that could help someone in the world, what would that poem be geared towards?
Definitely would be self-love and self-awareness. And the reason for me saying that, I think once we have an understanding of who we truly are, and if we're able to identify and own our own who we are, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a big difference. Because to me, I believe because pretty much, however our parents raise us or whomever that caretaker is, right? That shapes who we are as an individual for the most part. But then,
That's absolutely true.
yeah. But then I think it's like super important once you get to that point where you are aware of self and you're thinking and you're feeling, and you have to be mindful and you have to take that time to do that deep introspective work to figure out who it is that you are, trying to assess and say, well, you know what are my likes? What are my dislikes? And create your own opinion and understanding that. And I think that will make a difference, because we tend to, I believe, because of that lack of self-love and understanding of who we are, we're easily misled.
Yes, absolutely.
We're
I love that.
misled. We're easily
That's a
misled.
beautiful
Yes.
explanation.
Yeah, we're easily
Um,
misled.
I have another question for you,
Mhm.
and this goes back to your field of work.
Okay.
Um, have you ever had the opportunity, in dealing with your work, to maybe encourage a child, or maybe took something maybe a little bit too personal, and just like a close encounter with your work with children?
Absolutely. And I also work with parents, predominantly with parents now in my current role.
Okay.
And of course, that's going to happen because you're dealing with real life situation, right? And people's lived
Right.
experiences. All right. So I think I want to backtrack back really quickly. So
Okay.
I had a near death experience in 1996 that changed my
Mm-hmm.
whole life. And from that experience, with my lack of social supports and having someone to like really advocate for me, it if I wasn't a strong resilient woman, it would have changed my outlook altogether. And at that point I made a
Wow.
promise to God that if he saved my life, I would come back and I would help everyone that I think I can touch, and touch every life I could,
Wow.
because it's so important. When you are alone and that loneliness kicks in, it triggers depression. It questions your self-worth, your value, when you really think that, human beings, we treat each other the way we do. That's a whole different
Mm-hmm.
conversation. So I made that wish that, you know what, that's something that I always wanted to do. And that just like really changed
Wow, that's
everything.
amazing.
Yeah. So
And it's a good thing that you
mhm.
came out with that, you know, thought process and wanting to change the world
Yeah.
and help people, because a lot of people come out of near death situations and
Yeah.
they are on the other
Absolutely.
end,
From,
Absolutely. And then
yeah.
again in 2017, when you talk about having that close encounter in 2017, while at work, I got injured by a parent, and I was home for an extended period of time and had two surgeries. The parent was arrested as well. And I know like this was something that it was not really a struggle. I had to forgive this individual first before I was able to start healing. And that was so important because, again, you have to be able to separate and compartmentalize behaviors from how you experience it, right? So at that point in time, I had to take a step back and recognize that it was not the individual that hit me, it was the mental health. So, yeah. So, yeah. So that's close. Like, yeah.
Wow, it sounds like you deal with a
Yes.
lot,
Yes.
but sounds like you're handling it well.
Absolutely. I'm blessed and I'm here for a reason. God has me. I have to complete my journey and the task that He had created for me. So I think this is just an extension of it. Yeah.
Wow. How long? You said you've been writing poems
Yeah.
writing since you were a teenager.
Absolutely.
Have you ever had anything published, or is this just for your personal
Yeah. So
joy?
for personally, and like I said, it's like you're growing up, and this was just my outlet of dealing with whatever life threw at me. But I started being intentional with my writing in 2017. As I mentioned before, I was home, I got depressed. And again, writing is my safe space. And this is how I started writing. So, pretty much what I would do after just being home and being confined for an extended period of time, it's like those feelings and my frustration and whatever it is that I was thinking, I started writing it. And then out of that, I came up with this brilliant idea to publish a book of poetry infused with photography because, again, it's like coming from Jamaica, from the Caribbean, and maybe others can relate to this as well. It's like we weren't informed about sex, and that was not really a conversation. That was really it was a taboo, so that was not really readily discussed. So I think when I was home in 2017 and like started experiencing all these emotions, being a single woman, and again, like I said, like really exploring self, the sensual side of me, and also there was that crave for intimacy and companionship, and I was unable to fulfill that. So again, this is where my imagination got the best of me, and I just traveled into fantasyland, and whatever I thought about sexually or whatever I was feeling, thinking, I just put it into writing. So that comes with my erotic side of
Wow.
my poetry. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yes.
amazing. I can
Yeah.
relate with that as a
Yeah.
teenager. I started writing myself when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. So I definitely can relate to, just putting your
Yeah.
thoughts onto
Absolutely.
paper. What was the name of that book of poetry that
It's
you had?
called Bold, Her Liberation. So the name of the book is it has such great significance for me. Bold, it's brilliantly overcoming life's disappointments, and then her liberation, that's my sexual liberation, like being able to like talk and understand who I was and explore my sexuality and being comfortable with it. So I think this is powerful on all different levels.
Yes.
Yeah, just came
Okay.
out. Yeah.
And where can you find
So
that
this
book?
book is available on all major platforms. You could get it on Amazon, you could get it on Barnes and Nobles, and there's the Kindle version as well. So it's available on Smashwords, and I do have physical copies. So if anyone wants, I'll give my social media handle how they could contact me. I could actually just mail an autographed copy. Yeah.
Okay, great. We're going to take a very short break, but we'll be right back. So stay tuned. So today you're going to be blessing us with a poem. And can I ask what that poem is titled?
I do too, I mean. Is that possible? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you probably heard the one of the, this is actually one of my favorite pieces. And I think just also to, just for clarification, I think in life we have to be able to look beyond what the naked eyes and ears will see and hear. It's so important because there's always an underlying message. All right, so the first piece is entitled Nakedness. Yes.
Nakedness.
I want to experience that kind of nakedness beyond the physical, to be naked with his thoughts and feelings. When I attempt to undress him, I want to peel away the layers of his psychological scars. I want to meet him at the intersection of his thoughts, the crossroads of his emotions, the dead end of the state of his unconsciousness, as we approach those difficult conversations that we swore we would never have. I want us to feel safe with each other emotionally. Now that is my idea of nakedness, because I am capable of undressing him physically with my eyes and salacious thoughts. His thoughts and feelings are restricted.
That's beautiful. That shit was poetic.
Thank you.
I love that. I like when you said psychological
Yes,
scars.
yes, yes.
Wow.
And it's like so important. Sex is great and it's such an important part in a relationship. However, I think when you have that deep emotional connection with someone, it makes everything different. Like after the sex is over, how are you going to maintain that relationship if there is not that connection?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So have you ever been in a relationship and just refrained from sex
Ah,
and just was able to, get to know the person mentally for a period of time before diving into sex?
so I could say yes, and again, it's like from learning and experience. From your experience, you learn and you grow. So yes,
Good. I like that. That
yeah,
was really nice.
yes,
Nakedness.
yes. It's beyond the physical.
Is
Yes,
that in
it's
the
actually
book?
in the book.
Okay. Noted. Noted.
Yes, yes, it is in the book.
Okay, so let's hear this second poem. She's blessing us today, guys. So I'm so happy about this.
So, this piece is entitled Dance. Yes.
Dance.
He instructed the beats of my heart. I tuned out internal dialogue. Feelings flowed. I danced with the state of my being, expressed my feelings. He made a good impression. I kept dancing. I swirled with my feelings, enjoyed his beats, increased tempo, released safety brakes. Emotions led me, I danced. Enjoyed his dominance, vivacious hips thrusting against hips. I hated the tango dance. It was the dance of sorrow. Overwhelmed with joy, I danced with my date. Fluidity of our bodies twirled, perfection. Sure, this dance would prolong. Steadily, I fell for the rhythm. He braked unexpectedly. I moved my hips back and forth to re-engage him. Languid movements turned icy, chilled me. I smiled, embraced him heartily. Flirtatious gestures met his repulsive attitude. No spark of passion left to ignite. Alarmed by his sudden arctic demeanor, I blamed it on the music and the alcohol. I was in denial about his bipolar ass. Yet his polar
Mm.
gaze froze me. I was frantic, dejected by his insecurities. I stood on the dance floor, asphyxiated by the icy air that stood between us.
Love
Yes,
it. Love
yes.
it. So can I ask you what were you thinking
or where were your thoughts at when you wrote this poem,
Okay.
Dance?
So what I did not disclose as yet, after I thought I was healed during this whole process, I explored online dating and met this guy, and I swore he was everything that I wanted. And like the checklist, us females, we do the checklist. He has his career, he's
Absolutely.
gorgeous, he's family oriented, he's spiritual. I don't need to get into that right now. And it was perfect. But I was talking to a friend of mine, and she suggested that if you really wanted to know what a guy is about in terms of you as an individual, it's best to take him around your friends and to see how he responds. And I am so happy that I did that. This just went far left so quickly. I think he was intimidated that, as women, when we go out, we're dancing with each other and we're having a good time. And he got so offensive about that and literally asked me if I was a lesbian. Yes.
What?
And that just escalated into just so negatively, so quickly. My girlfriends and I would decide, it was best for us to leave. Unfortunately, I had drove with him because we were coming from a distance and I didn't feel like driving. And so on our way back, I noticed he was highly upset, didn't even open the car door for me to get in, was pretty quiet. So when I got in the car, he started cussing me, like so negative. And I literally said to him, "It's okay, just let me out of your car. I'll take it from here." Because I saw the cops. So I was just like, I felt safer then. And he drove past the cops, took me to this desolate area and literally just opened the car door and said, "Get out."
Oh, wow. That's
Exactly.
horrible. So
So
he
he
danced
danced
his
his
way
way
right
right
out.
out. Yeah, he danced his way in, but then he danced himself out so quickly. So,
Right. He
exactly.
definitely
So it's just
did.
like so many different themes that's woven into this book. And it's just how I was thinking, what I was feeling at that point in time. And like I said, it's like a learning experience for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Did that situation change your mind from
Hell
online
yeah.
dating?
I'll never do that again. I'll go back to the traditional. I guess, it's like when you're bored in your home, it's like, no, it's okay. I'll do the traditional is
Yeah.
better for me. Hell
Yeah,
no.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Hell no.
So I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but like Jamaican women, they dance kind of sensual. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So he just had it all wrong.
Yeah.
Date gone wrong.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things. And then it's like, people will just like, people enter your life for a reason, for a season, and I think for a lesson, your lesson to be learned. And you also have to know your seasons and know when they end and not hang on to it.
Right.
So important as a woman. And like you said, you talk about the sensual dancing, and it's like, again, society, because we're so judgmental and we fit a certain profile, and automatically people just think that, yeah, she's a tramp, she's a hoe, and the list goes on. But it's really trying to take away from the physical person and trying to understand what lies beyond that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. Dancing, I think, just it shows who a person is. It shows a little bit about their culture. You can learn so many different
Absolutely.
things from the way a person dance, and
Yeah.
that's his loss.
Big loss.
So yeah. But I thank you so
Absolutely.
much. And can you share with the viewers again where we can find your book and your social media, how we can find Toya?
Toya can be found on Instagram as well as Twitter. It's at Be Bold Toya. At Be Bold Toya. For Facebook, it's just simple Toya. My book, Bold Her Liberation, it's available on all major platforms. You can find it on Amazon, Smashwords, Barnes and Nobles, and also you could DM me to get autographed copies. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for, sharing your poetry and your art with the world. As well as, I want to commend you again for your work that you do, in child welfare.
Okay. And
so I really appreciate you blessing my
No problem. And
podcast.
thank you so much for the invite. And I wish you all the best. And for anyone who's going to be listening, just continue to believe in yourself and know that you are of value. And this too shall pass, whatever that this is.
Thank you so
You're
much
most
for
welcome.
that. I'm definitely going to be looking into purchasing that book. So if you guys are listening and want to cop that book, it's on all major
And book 2
platforms.
will be coming out in June.
Oh, wow. My birthday's in June. So that'll be
Awesome.
nice.
We'll talk more.
Yeah. So definitely I'll keep reaching out to
Absolutely.
you, and maybe, we can have you again
All right,
when that
no
book comes
problem.
out and you can share. Thank you.
Okay,
Have
all
a
right,
good
bye
day.
now.
Have you ever dated online? Have you ever experienced a bad online date? Comment on the Anchor app and let us know.
So thanks for tuning in to That Shit Was Poetic. I'm your host, Nikki, and tune in every Friday for new episodes. To check out our old episodes, follow That Shit Was Poetic on all streaming services, Spotify or Google Play, or follow us on the Anchor app to leave a comment. To be featured in our podcast, email or DM us on thatshitwaspoetic@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in.